Hello, this is the media component of my London Media Industries assessment. Throughout this video, I'll be utilizing Komorowski's 7P framework to analyze both Pinewood and Iskandar Malaysia studios as media clusters and to showcase these spatial elements. By comparing the two studio complexes along the same framework, differences between the two studios can be observed. In my essay, I will reference back to this analysis when discussing key evidence supporting my argument. The 7 Ps that Komorowski outlines are as follows: place, proximity, population, profile, path dependency, policy, and performance. It's important to note that before we begin, a 7P analysis covers quite a lot of ground, and because of this, my analysis will be broad rather than deep in seeking to compare both case studies. With that stated, let's start with place. Komorowski outlines the place parameter of her framework as the geographical scale and local conditions influencing the media cluster's dynamics. Komorowski simplifies this by posing the parameter as a question. Where are blank? Where are Pinewood Studios and Iskandar Malaysia Studios? Let's take a look at where these two studios are in the world. Pinewood Studios is a studio complex located outside of London in Ivor Heath, Buckinghamshire, as seen here. Pinewood Studios is a relatively large studio complex containing greater than 30 sound stages and facilities. You can see each of them pictured here. From Pinewood, let's now travel across the world to Malaysia to take a look at Iskandar Malaysia Studios. Iskandar Malaysia Studios is a studio complex located at the southern tip of Malaysia in the state of Johor. You can see it pictured here. Iskandar Malaysia Studios is a relatively smaller studio complex than Pinewood, but it is one of the larger complexes within the Asia-Pacific region that it targets. Proximity is the second parameter. The question we can ask to answer this is, how close are Pinewood Studios and Iskandar Malaysia Studios to supporting cluster characteristics? Pinewood Studios is located approximately 6.6 miles away from Heathrow Airport, as seen here, and more largely, 17 miles away from Soho in London. Pinewood Studios is also close to a number of firms that have agglomerated nearby to support and use the facility. Iskandar Malaysia Studios is also close to a number of key supporting infrastructures. Most notably, Iskandar Malaysia, a developmental project aimed at turning southern Johor into an economic powerhouse. The development, however, has been criticized due to an imbalance between massive property development and a lack of people. Measuring the distance between Iskandar Malaysia Studios and the nearest airport shows it's roughly 16 miles, about the same as Pinewood is from London. To Singapore, the nearest large international city, it's about 15 miles, and to Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, where Iskandar Malaysia sits, it's over 160 miles. Population is the third parameter. This parameter has to do with how many. A simple visit to Pinewood's website reveals that over 100 production service companies are based within the studio complex. Likewise, a visit to Iskandar Malaysia Studios' website reveals about only 10 tenants currently occupying the facilities. I will address the scale of skilled labor specifically in the following section. Profile is the fourth parameter. To analyze Pinewood and Iskandar, we can ask the question of what kind in regards to specialization of the studio along many different facets. Here you can see an overhead view of Iskandar Malaysia Studios and the kind of facilities it supports. You can see that there are stages for TV, film, and water tanks, leading this site to be highly specialized for major film and television production. Pinewood Studios features many of the same facilities as Iskandar Malaysia Studios, but in greater numbers. Its facilities are purpose-built for supporting large Hollywood productions. London and Pinewood's surrounding area is also home to many highly specialized laborers within the film industry. This concentration of skilled workers is correlated with the large number of jobs found at facilities like Pinewood. In contrast, Iskandar Malaysia Studios' labor force is small and relatively unskilled due to a lack of productions at the facilities. Across Malaysia, film and television only account for 0.1% of national employment. Path-dependency is the fifth parameter, which focuses on the historical trajectory of the studios and can be assessed by asking, how has each studio evolved? Pinewood Studios was first built in 1936 and has since had a long successful history as it has evolved into a global brand with additional UK locations like Shepperton and international locations like Toronto, the Dominican Republic, Atlanta, and of course, Iskandar Malaysia Studios. Iskandar Malaysia Studios was built in 2014 under its former name, making it very new for a studio complex. It was purpose-built to grow the filmmaking industry in Malaysia as a part of a broader developmental plan for Iskandar Malaysia. Pinewood, however, pulled out of this arrangement in 2019. Industry commentators have cited inexperienced crew on the studio's largest production, Marco Polo, as a potential reason. However, the experience of this large production has developed the experience of laborers in the region. Policy is the sixth parameter. This has most to do with policy dynamics and their interactions with the studio complexes, and can be understood by asking, which governance? On Iskandar Malaysia Studios' website, one can find a direct link to the incentive provided by Malaysia, a competitive 30% tax rebate. However, commentators have claimed difficulty in claiming this rebate due to government changes within Malaysia. Likewise, the UK is home to strong policy support of studio complexes and film production through the British Film Commission, which even has a location at Pinewood Studios. Finally, we will look at performance. Simply put, this has to do with output and economic success, or lack thereof. Komorowski frames the question of what output to assist in the analysis. Pinewood has played a historically significant role as a production location for high-profile and high-budget feature films, and has thus featured strong relationships with big Hollywood production companies. Many other studio complexes have been unable to compete with Pinewood for these large international films due to a lack of sizable infrastructure that Pinewood supplies. Many of the recent successful productions Pinewood has produced can be seen here, spanning film, television, and even video games. Iskandar Malaysia Studios' performance has not been as consistent. There has been a recent decline in large productions shot at Iskandar Studios and questions over its future now that Pinewood has exited the collaborative project. Despite a distinct lack of Hollywood productions, the studio has found success in a few international film productions, domestic television, and of course its experience with Marco Polo. Thank you for listening. In my essay, I will reference the evidence uncovered through the 7P analysis to support my argument.